Hey everybody, and welcome back to my channel on this Thursday morning, afternoon or evening across the world where you may be at. And this is going to be the start of my new autism and true crime case playlist that I'm doing. So I thought I'd start off with a UK case which has come to my attention of the autistic barrister Robin Jacobs, who was recently jailed for 4 years for a sex attack. And it was a Tinder date that he'd met. So I thought, as an autistic woman, I would bring this to you and discuss it, read through the case, and then give my autistic perspective at the end. So the headline reads, Autistic barrister Robin Jacobs argues autism means he couldn't read the subtle non-verbal cues before Tinder date sex attack. To me, no, I'm sorry. As an autistic woman, that's not good enough. Regardless if you are on the autism spectrum or not, there is no way to get away with being a sexual predator or to sexually attack a woman or a man for that matter. And it's just that headline has already upset me. So let's get into it. Robert Jacobs tried to get his conviction overturned despite the victim told him twice to stop and to get out. An East London barrister has had his appeal thrown out by the High Court. Robin Jacobs, 40 years old, was convicted after a retrial and jailed for 4 years in September of 2022 after he told a woman to hold steady before forcing himself on her during a sex session in September 2017. The lawyer, who has autism spectrum condition, screamed, "I didn't do it," but was found guilty of rape by the jurors of a majority of 10 to 2 last year. Now, the attempt to have his conviction overturned has been rejected by the Court of Appeal in London. Jacobs' barristers argued that there was new psychiatric evidence not available at the trial, which makes this conviction unsafe, because the jurors and jury was not directed to take his ASD into account when considering whether his belief the victim consented was reasonable. The jurors heard evidence from the victim, who said it was non-consensual and involved huge amounts of force, which resulted in a cut and bruising. He told the victim to have a cuddle and offered her some paracetamol. That makes my skin crawl. Sorry, that just makes my skin crawl. Disgusting. The judge said it gives the court no pleasure whatsoever to sentence anybody to any terms of imprisonment, and in particular this case, with a man of good character, of high standing in his profession. But yet I have to sentence you, as I must, and you know I must, which is a truly sad event. Mr. Rose, who defended Mr. Jacobs, said that this is not a defendant who will foresee trouble within the court again. He is struggling, and I have no doubt he will continue to struggle to understand the principle for reasons associated to his disability. The prosecution has then suggested Jacobs' ASD does not impact his understanding of consent and his belief of whether his victim consented in this case. Jacobs specialised in educational law and had continued previously to practice. However, now with the conviction means that he is likely to never to work in the legal profession ever again, and was ordered to register as a sex offender for life. So this is the full story of the verdict about Robin Jacobs. I think sad. This is a sad case because obviously he has done wrong. He has been convicted in the eyes of the law. He has done something that was not right. He has been punished to 4 years inside prison. And I'm sorry for his victim. I'm sorry what she went through. I'm sorry what she experienced. It's not great. It's really disgusting. And the fact that she asked him to stop and he carried on anyway, which shows he knew right from wrong and he knew what consent was and what consent was not. Regardless, him trying to use his autism to say he didn't understand is rubbish. I'm sorry. I'm autistic and I know right from wrong. I know what consent is and what consent isn't. I know if people tell me to stop doing something, I stop doing it. You don't use the ASD to try and overturn the conviction. That is disgusting. That is using the disability victim card, and that's just disgraceful. For him as a high lawyer as well to try and get away with this is just utterly outrageous. And yes, he admitted to doing things wrong. You know, he claimed he didn't understand it, but he knew what right from wrong is. He knew as a lawyer, especially specialising in educational law, he knew what right from wrong is. He knew that he works with people who are vulnerable. So therefore, why on earth wouldn't he realise what he was doing was utterly wrong, utterly shameful? He's now made the victim have counselling and going through traumatic circumstances. I feel really bad for the victim and her family, and I feel bad for him as well, because by the end of the day, he is a convicted sex attacker, and sadly he has had to sign the sex offenders register for life because obviously of how severe the case was, and the fact that he has been convicted of a rape case against a woman, and that he met her on a Tinder date. And it's just sad that there seems to have been a miscommunication on his end of what consent is and what consent isn't. And no, I'm not defending him at all. I'm just saying that this is a truly sad case to go through, when you should know right from wrong as an adult in the eyes of the law, especially as someone who worked within the law and worked within policy. He should have known his rights as a human being before carrying out this attack on this woman. And I do understand what the other barrister was saying about he is going to struggle, and no doubt he's going to not understand what he did until after he thinks about it whilst he's in prison. And I think hopefully he'll get reformed whilst he's in prison. He'll undertake the necessary training, education. He'll do what he has to do to make sure he's keeping his name in good stead within the prison system. I think him signing the sex offenders register for life is a great idea, because obviously if he comes into contact with other women, he won't be allowed to contact them. He's not be allowed to go into places where there's vulnerable women or women in general, because obviously he now has a sex offenders conviction, so he won't be allowed to associate with the women who are around his area, or he may even have to move out of his area. We don't know that, but to lose his job over this as well is just totally heartbreaking. But again, he has been convicted of rape, and again, it has been convicted not the first time but second time. So the jury obviously had enough evidence to convict him of such a crime, and he's obviously now going to be serving his time in prison, and hopefully he'll get rehabilitated and he won't be a risk to anyone else. And I hope you've enjoyed this first autism true crime case that I've brought to your attention, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.